So you go back to Paris, and I go back to Rome, and I go back to certain places in Rome, and it does drive my wife crazy when I go back to the CCM to see a small park where I used to get water, okay, because I have to go to that park every single time, and there's nothing to see, and there's of no interest to anyone else but me. And why do I go? I have no idea. But I go there and I take my children with me. With enough, Dad, we've seen this park. You don't understand. There's nothing to understand. It's as if, this new or this transitory home has become the main home. And yet we wouldn't even want to live there. You wouldn't want to live next to that hotel, but you keep going back there like an elephant going back.
Such a strong sense of memory? Is it something that you work at? And what's the strongest? Is it sense, images, or emotion? How does it work?
Well, most of the memories are invented, but no, but you cultivate memory. It's not that you make an effort at it. It's that Out of Egypt I wrote I wrote it the first time when I was very young, and then I put it aside and didn't think of it. But over the years, every single time I would walk by a place and I would smell something, I would make a note. I wouldn't write it down, I'd make a note of it. And I'd say, oh my God, when I sit on this bench on this very warm day, it burns my legs. And it burns my legs because that reminds me of the beach. And I'd make a kind of tacit note, and I'd forget about it. When I started writing Out of Egypt, all these sort of second generation memories would come, and they would basically ask to be repatriated. The skin that burnt wants to be talked about. The smell of stewed meats and wine wants to be discussed. And so everybody says, what fantastic memories he has. In point of fact, it's kind of a second generation, almost manufactured memory. They're all real because people will read Out of Egypt and say, my God, the scent of this, when it's combined with that, I remember it precisely. Mangoes, if you eat a mango, how many of you have ever eaten a mango at the beach? Okay, if you've eaten a mango at the beach, you know that you can dip it in water and it becomes salty, therefore sweeter. And there's a particular sort of talent in doing that. Now, if you write about this, and of course there's always somebody who's going to write to me and say, mangoes in the beach, I remember that. How could you have remembered that? I didn't have to try, it was just there. Over the years I've realized that I like to do certain things that are weird. And then you cultivate it in a way, and ultimately have a whole catalog of memories dying to be told a story about. And that story is Out of Egypt.
Did you invent memories?
I hope not. I wrote one memoir with sort of hundreds of pages based on the feelings and recollections of a child of 6. And now, my second book, I'm not much older than that in much of it, but what I do is I'm a reporter by training. So I guess I do a kind of a reported memoir. I seek out memories not my own and take them over. I have older siblings that I could consult, though I must say my sister would get exasperated. She's in the audience. My brother a little less so. And I would turn to them, do you remember this? What can you tell me about that? And that's how I reconstructed the past as best as I could by just doing a whole lot of interviews. And there were memories.
The real source, I envy the fact that you're a journalist because you have certain standards you have to abide by, correct? I'm a memoirist, I'm a novelist, okay? But here's the difference, is that I needed facts. There's no question that I'm writing about things that happened before my birth. So how can I possibly quote anyone, in quotation marks? But I was in search of facts, and I realized that there were two sources. One was books and newspapers and magazine articles, and the other one, far more interesting for me, was gossip. Family gossip it's a trove of misguided information, but you don't even have to comb it for true and false. The fact that it's gossip is precious in itself. And if you know how to use gossip for information, distorted information, which the reader immediately picks up, says, oh my God, I know, this is distorted, of course it's distorted. But to communicate distorted information in a way that emphasizes its warped nature is actually, it's a lot of fun. I mean, because you're not insulted as a reader, and as a writer, I'm not giving you information that you could have gotten from an encyclopedia. So.
Family members feel about your memoirs?
Some people complain, others threaten to sue me. And of course, when somebody in England, of course, because I've written about the family in England, that was the best part, because I didn't like them much, and they gave me the information that they shouldn't have given me. So I had this information. Of course I was going to use it, and I didn't even want to find out if it was true or false. If it was a lie, too bad, you gave me that information. And it made for a great story anyway. But they threatened to sue me because I had slandered my great-uncle. Actually, it turns out I hadn't slandered. I told information that they didn't know about. The fact that he had been a spy for the Brits against the Israelis. That's something that really shocked them. Why should it? He was that way with everyone. But in point of fact, when they threatened to sue me, the best thing they could have done was to initiate a suit, because that was at the time that Salman Rushdie was being persecuted by the Iranians. I could have loved the publicity of a suit against me by my own relatives.